Hey, what is up, mortals? It is JessicaGem here with a new video for you. Welcome to part number 2 of season 2 of What If Deku Met Ryoko. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. And so, we begin. After hearing that the sports festival would take place soon, the members of Class 1A were energized to go beyond plus ultra. The students doubled down on their training, all of them pushing themselves to reach the next level of their abilities. One day after hero training, the members of Class 1A were in their classroom. The group was having various conversations about the day and how their training was going. At a certain point, the whole class freaked out when Midoriya told them about his new ability. Mina Ashido, being the loudest of the group, was the first to express the sentiment of everyone.
No way! You can manipulate matter now? That is so unfair. You already have telekinesis and the ability to run up walls. Are you sure you don't have two powers like Todoroki?
Momo added in a more rational tone. While I disagree with the tone, I do agree with Ashido's idea. It is quite a jump from using telekinesis to matter manipulation. Midori rubbed the back of his head, a little taken aback by all the attention from his classmates.
Well, it's not that I got a new power, Ashido. I just got a better understanding of how my power works. I think I was always manipulating matter in a way.
Uraraka interjected.
That is really cool, Deku. Can you show us how you do it?
Momo nodded in agreement with the pink-cheeked girl. Yes, I would also like to see this. The ponytailed girl rolled up her sleeve. Using her quirk, she created a 4-inch by 4-inch block of steel. Here, you can use this. I would be happy to show you all. Midoriya sat the piece of metal on his desk. The green teen activated his power and placed his right index finger on the metal. He visualized the form he wanted the metal to take. The Lighthawk energy flowed from Midoriya's hand into the block, and the block glowed white and then transformed from a solid block into a small statue. The figure looked exactly like All Might. It even had his crow's feet. All of his classmates were amazed by this display. Melissa asked the question that no one was thinking of. That is really cool, Midoriya, but how are you going to use this to fight villains? I have a few applications thought up. They're more simple than sculpting a figure. I still can't apply such precise action during combat. I am working to improve that, however. Plus, I figured it could be good for repairing any damage I do to an area. Melissa nodded in agreement. That is true. I hadn't thought of that as an application. After a few more minutes of admiring Midoriya's power, the students of 1A walked toward the door to head home for the day. When they slid the door open, a crowd had gathered outside the classroom. The 1A members were perplexed by the presence of so many students outside of their door. Uraraka was the first one to express her confusion.
What's going on? Why are all of you here?
It was then that Bakugo walked up and answered this question.
Isn't it obvious, dumbasses? They're here to check out the competition. We are the class that stopped a villain attack at the USJ. It makes sense that they would want to check out the people that are gonna beat them in the festival.
The crowd outside the door got very angry at Bakugo's comments. They all stared daggers at the 1A members. Ashido spoke up at this point.
Apologize to them, Bakugo! You're making us out to be the bad guys!
In a calm voice, Bakugo replied to Ashido.
These extras don't matter. They're just hurdles we must overcome. The festival will show who the true future heroes are.
With those words, Bakugo walked into the hallway, the crowd parting around him. A certain red-haired member of Class 1A thought how manly Bakugo's exit was. After a few weeks, the day of the sports festival arrived. 1A was gathered in a locker room preparing for the opening ceremony. Several of the students wondered why they couldn't wear their costumes for the event. They came to the conclusion that the teachers wanted to make it fair for everyone involved, which is why they were all wearing their gym uniforms. As everyone prepared themselves mentally for the trials ahead, Todoroki stared at Midoriya. The green teen was having a conversation with Melissa, Ryoko, Uraraka, and Ida. Midoriya. The green teen turned to face his icy classmate. What is it, Todoroki? I think it's apparent that our class has several powerful students in it. However, it's apparent to me that you, Melissa, and Ryoko are the strongest. Todoroki then looked at each of his classmates with the same impassive and icy glance as Midoriya. I wanted to let you all know that I'll beat all of you and win the festival. Midoriya and Melissa went to speak, but were beaten to the punch by Ryoko.
Thank you for recognizing my abilities, Todoroki. However, don't think that you're gonna win just because you say it. Like you said, me, Izuku, and Melissa are very powerful, but so are our classmates. We also don't know what kind of powers that Class 1B has, so if you want to win the festival, you'll have to give it your best.
Ryoko then turned to the rest of the class.
That goes for everyone here. Let's show everyone that this was no accident or stroke of good luck that we stopped the villains at USJ. We all need to go beyond. Plus Ultra.
The other members of Class 1A gave a cheer after Ryoko's impromptu speech. Midoriya and Melissa both nodded at each other in agreement. Both saw that Ryoko's words were true. The teens remembered the advice that All Might had given them a few days before. The tall man had told the two teens to use the sports festival as a way to announce themselves to the country. The teens now had more reason than any to push themselves. A short while later, an alert went off in the locker rooms. This warning told the students that the opening ceremony was about to begin.
Good morning, UA fans! This is your favorite DJ instructor coming to you live. I am joined by Class 1A teacher and professional buzzkill, Eraserhead!
Aizawa groaned at the enthusiasm of his blonde co-host. Why am I even here?
Well, let's get this party started. Walking onto the field right now are the students of the Hero Course Class 1A.
The students of Class 1A walked out onto the field and waved to the crowd. The entire stadium went crazy. Many of the students were taken aback by all of this attention. Ida pointed out that this was a part of hero work they would have to get used to, the cheering of the crowds. Present Mike then announced, with equal enthusiasm, the other courses. All of the students walked onto the field to the roar of the audience. Now that we've introduced everyone, it's time for the first year's pledge.
That is the referee for the first year's Midnight!
Upon seeing the R-rated hero, many of the students thought her outfit was inappropriate for this event. Midnight then continued. The pledge shall be delivered by Izuku Midoriya. Ashido was confused at this. She turned to Melissa, who was standing behind her, and asked a question. Why is Midoriya delivering the pledge? It's probably because he had the top score on the hero entrance exam. That's right! I completely forgot about that. In the background, Bakugo stood grinding his teeth in frustration. He had been ignored by Icy Hot, and now Midoriya was delivering the pledge. He would show all of the class who the most powerful student in the school really was. Midoriya walked up to the mic, his body a trembling mass of nerves. For a long minute the boy said nothing. The number of eyes gazing on him rendered him mute. The greenette looked out at his classmates and saw Ryoko giving him a thumbs up. This action calmed the nervous boy down. Midoriya took a deep breath and spoke. I just wanted to let you all know that we first years have come here to show you the results of our training thus far. We all still have a lot to learn about what it means to be a hero, but we are learning. I plan to give this competition my all. Izuku turned to face the students. Let's show everyone here what it means to be a student of UA. Let's go beyond. Plus Ultra! The students all cheered in response to Midoriya's pledge. The crowd then joined in with roaring applause. Many of the students had been nervous, just like Midoriya, but now every single one was motivated to try their hardest. Midnight allowed the applause to die down before she spoke. Thank you, Izuku Midoriya, for that heartfelt pledge. Now, we begin the competition properly with the selection of the first game. I hope you're as turned on as I am. All of the students got grim looks on their faces at Midnight's last comment. After all, this was a school event. Midnight snapped her whip and the stadium's big screen changed to show a revolving picture of event titles. The picture stopped rotating, and the title that appeared was Obstacle Course.
All right, we have our first event, folks. The obstacle course is a race around the stadium. We've placed various obstacles to impede the students' progress. Their goal is to reach the finish line however they can. All quirk usage is allowed during this event. Let's see what you kids have.
All of the students lined up next to the entrance of the stadium. All of them were a knot of tightened muscles, waiting for the start signal. Midnight raised her whip over her head. Let the race begin! The R-rated hero snapped her whip and the kids took off running. The starting line was lined by a narrow hallway. The mass of students quickly became stuck in the tight space. Midoriya stood in the middle of the struggling students. As he looked for a way out of the jam, the intelligent teen noticed that he could see his breath. An alarm bell went off in his mind. The teen knew what this meant. Midoriya jumped into the air and landed on the left-hand wall of the tunnel. As he did that, a wave of ice shot through the hallway. Many students were immobilized from the attack. Midoriya knew that this was the work of Todoroki. The green teen looked at the exit and saw the bicolored teen sprinting out of it. Midoriya wasted no time and took off running on the walls. In only a moment, Midoriya had reached the exit and ran out of the wall. The agile teen did a flip in the air and landed on his feet outside of the tunnel. Midoriya looked back and saw that many of his classmates had also avoided being trapped by the ice wave. He figured that they had seen that first attack coming and dodged it in time. While the other 1A members caught up, Todoroki ran ahead and met the next obstacle. This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Staying safe online is an ever-growing difficulty, and hackers could exploit you. NordVPN allows you to change your IP address, making you harder to track, securing your privacy. In addition to providing you a safe passage through the web, you can also expand the reach of your favorite streaming services. Are you tired of going through 2, 3, or even 4 services to watch your favorite anime? Well, with NordVPN, you can change your country and be able to binge shows like My Hero Academia, Naruto, and many others on your favorite streaming service with just the press of a button. Check out the link in the description to get 72% off when buying for 2 years at $3.29 a month. This deal is for a limited time, and thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. Present Mike saw this and responded with joyful energy.
Looks like Todoroki has come face to face with the next hurdle, a group of our Robo-Infernos.
Todoroki stood before the group of faux villains, his face as impassible as always. So these are the robots that the others had to face in the entrance exam. I can see why they would have struggled, though I wish the teachers had given me something more challenging. After all, he's watching. Todoroki looked behind him and saw that all of his classmates had dodged his first ice wave. He also saw that many of the members of 1B had also made their way out of the tunnel. It annoyed the bicolored teen that so many of his competitors had dodged his first strike. The first members of 1A to reach Todoroki were Midoriya, Melissa, Ryoko, Bakugo, and Kirishima. The icy teen knew that he could waste no time with the robots in front of him. As a 0-point robot charged at him, Todoroki unleashed a powerful wave of ice. This attack froze the 0-pointer in an unstable position. The elemental teen used this break to run through the line of robots. Ryoko was impressed by the frozen robots, but she became concerned when several students tried to run through the line of robo-icicles like Todoroki had done. Unfortunately, this plan did not work. The giant 0-pointer collapsed because of the unsure footing it had. A giant wave of debris came crashing down towards the teens, and a cloud of ice and dust engulfed the group. Ryoko became concerned about her classmates. She called out to them as the dust cloud cleared.
Is everyone okay?
Midoriya looked around the field. He then answered Ryoko in a calm tone. It looks like everyone's fine. The few that tried to get through the robot line managed to get out of the way before the collapse. Ryoko breathed out in a sigh of relief.
That's good to hear.
With that worry out of the way, the teens charged forward into the field of robotic offenders. Midoriya drew Tenchi from the holster on his belt. The teen figured that he would need his sword during the festival, so he had gotten the proper forms from Aizawa, filled them out, and turned them in about a week ago. The green teen willed the sword to life. Knowing that his opponents were robots, he decided to hold nothing back and put Tenchi into full power mode. A group of 3-point robots charged Midoriya. The teen activated his powers. His Jurian energy surged through him. Midoriya charged the robots with speed and ferocity. As the green teen approached his opponents, he slashed at them with Tenchi. His movements were so fast that it looked like he missed. However, a moment later, the robots all fell to the ground in pieces. Midoriya smiled at his handiwork. "Zoro, eat your heart out." The determined youth saw that Bakugo had already gotten past the robots by using his explosions to fly over them. Ryoko had used her ability to fly for the same result. Melissa had used her enhanced strength and speed to rip through the robots in her way. Those three were now heading to catch up with Todoroki. Midoriya had no wish to be left behind, so he took off at top speed. As Todoroki and the other 1A members approached the second obstacle, Present Mike made an announcement.
"Now we come to the second obstacle, the fall!"
It was a series of canyons and rock faces that were connected by narrow wires, altogether an impressive feat for the students to overcome. Todoroki did not hesitate. He just used his ice powers to slide right across the wires with the greatest of ease. The teen hardly considered this an obstacle. Bakugo was the next to reach the fall. The explosive teen just kept on flying. While Midoriya, Ryoko, and Melissa were close behind the front runners, no one was sure who would get to the fall first. Somehow, Midoriya got there first. The intelligent teen wasted not a moment. He approached the canyon in front of him at full speed. The teen then leapt into the air and used his telekinesis to launch himself to the next landing safely. He continued to do this until he reached the end of the fall. Midoriya kept on running. He dared not look behind him or open his Jurian senses to see where Ryoko and Melissa are, but the teen knew they could not be far behind, so Midoriya focused all of his will on running ahead. Todoroki arrived at the next obstacle, the minefield. The icy youth walked slowly across the bomb-laden ground to keep from activating the devices below. This slow progress allowed the others to catch up. Bakugo arrived first and flew straight at Todoroki.
"Hey, Icy Hot! Your declaration of war was to the wrong person!"
The explosive teen then began to grapple with Todoroki in the middle of the minefield. Midoriya came up to the field next. The intelligent greenette knew that it would take him too long to walk across the field. He could jump across it like he did the canyons at the fall, but that would leave him vulnerable to being attacked by someone like Bakugo or Ryoko. Midoriya had one more trick up his sleeve, but he had been hoping to save this trick for later in the competition. But if he didn't use it now, he would give up any chance of winning this event. Midoriya called forth the Lighthawk energy from within himself. He then used his power to manipulate the air in front of him. A transparent shape appeared. It was light green in color and looked like a boogie board. It was a simple shape, but it would do. Midoriya jumped onto his new airboard. The teen then used his telekinesis to propel himself through the air. The green teen had practiced this move over the past weeks, but hadn't used it in any combat training. This would be its first time in such a situation. He knew that Kacchan and Todoroki wouldn't just let him pass by. Further up the field, Todoroki and Bakugo continued to struggle against each other. Neither one was able to get an advantage. Midoriya came zooming up the field at surprising speed on his airboard. He passed his dueling classmates and said to the two, "Coming through!" Both Bakugo and Todoroki were surprised by the sight of Midoriya passing them. They uttered in unison, "What the Asta?" The two teens looked at each other with irritated faces. Bakugo broke off his assault.
"I don't have time for this! I have to catch that green-haired loser!"
Todoroki said nothing to Bakugo's insulting remark. The teen used his ice power to freeze the ground around him. He knew that it would make it easier for the other competitors to get through the minefield, but he had no time to worry about that. The bicolored teen then chased after his two classmates. Midoriya zoomed through the air towards the finish line on his new board. Following closely behind him was Bakugo. Todoroki trailed in third place, but he was moving up fast. The three were neck and neck as they approached the finish line. It was so close, in fact, that it came down to a photo finish.
It looks like Izuku Midoriya is in first, Todoroki is in second, and Bakugo is third. What a finish to the first event!
The rest of the students crossed the finish line over the next few minutes. All of the other members of 1A finished, and so did the members of 1B. There were a few members of other courses in the finishers also. The students barely had time to catch their breath before Midnight declared the selection of the next event. The R-rated hero snapped her whip over her head, and the big screen displayed the spinning sign. The image showed a sign that read, Tag. Present Mike was excited by this turn of events. In his exuberant voice, he explained the rules of the game.
This event will be similar to the playground game with a few changes. You'll divide into teams of 3 or 4 members each. Each member will have a point value. The value will be added together to get your team's total value. Each time a member of your team is tagged, your team will lose 100 points. However, even if you lose all your points, your team can still remain in play to gather more points as the match goes on. Each student will be given a point value based on how they finished in the obstacle course. The person who finished last will be given a point value of 10, and the value of each student will raise by 10 points as you rise through the ranks. However, the person in first place will be worth 10 million points!
All of the students looked at Midoriya with hungry eyes. They all knew that the easiest way to win was to take Midoriya's points. Midnight then told the teens to select their teams. Midoriya noticed right away that people were selecting their teams based on their classes. That made sense to the green teen. After all, the event was designed to test your ability to work as a team. People would naturally choose their classmates since they knew how their powers would work together. Midoriya was so lost in thought that he didn't notice 2 figures were coming up behind him. The figures placed their hands on Izuku's shoulders. The distracted teen was so surprised by the touch that he jumped nearly 10 feet into the air. When he came back down, Midoriya turned around and saw that the figures were Melissa and Ryoko.
Melissa! Ryoko! What are you two doing here?
Ryoko smiled at the silly greenette.
We came to join your team, Izuku.
Izuku was surprised. He figured that no one would want to join his team, since he would be a target because of his point value. The boy's eyes started to water.
Really? You're not put off by my 10 million stupid points?
Melissa gave her friend a thumbs up. Not at all. Ryoko and I figured that with the power and mobility that the 3 of us have, we would be an unbeatable team. Izuku wiped his eyes dry. He stood up straight and looked around. He would have liked to get one more person, but it looked like everyone had already teamed up. The greenette turned to the girls and said, Okay, let's do it. I have a plan that'll get us the win. The 3 teens huddled together and planned their strategy. Midnight sounded an alarm from the stage. Okay, students, your time to form teams is over. Prepare for the game to begin. Author's note. Both Todoroki's team and Bakugo's team are the same as canon. However, Ochako teamed up with Tokoyami and Hatsumi. The other teams are the same too. When the start signal went off, the teams went at it. Each team had been given electronic vests to record the tags. The vests also displayed the team's point standing. Midoriya had a plan to dodge oncoming taggers. Midoriya and Melissa would use their speed and agility to dodge the attackers, while Ryoko would use her flight to stay out of range of the tagger and respond if either Melissa or Midoriya were ambushed. This worked fine for the first half of the match, but then Todoroki's team zeroed in on them. Izuku figured his bicolored classmate would do this, but he thought it would be closer to the end of the match. Todoroki used his ice to form a wall behind Midoriya and Melissa. This made it where the 2 teams were blocked in. They had no choice now. Izuku called his teammates. Girls, we have to change tactics. It's time to attack. Ryoko landed next to the greenette.
Are you sure, Izuku?
Yes, I get the feeling that even if we escaped this ice wall, Todoroki would find another way to block us in.
Ryoko and Melissa agreed with Midoriya. They could see the icy determination in Todoroki's eyes. The girls nodded at Midoriya, and the group readied themselves for a fight. The teams charged at each other. A storm of dodging and striking began. Both teams lost and gained points at furious pace. Both teams were giving it their all. Midoriya could tell that Todoroki was planning something, so the green team took stronger actions. He drew Tenchi and set the sword in stun mode. Todoroki unleashed a powerful wave of ice. Midoriya dodged it to the right, and the wave passed him by harmlessly. The serious youth knew what Midoriya was doing. The green team was moving to the right, which would make it hard for Todoroki to hit him with his ice. While Todoroki thought about what to do next, Midoriya moved in to attack. The fierce teen slashed at Todoroki with his sword. The speed of Midoriya's attack surprised him. Without thinking, the cold-handed youth unleashed a burst of fire from his left side. Midoriya saw this move and created a telekinetic barrier to block the fire. Todoroki dodged and just missed getting hit by Tenchi. He put some distance between himself and Midoriya. The bicolored teen held his left hand in front of his face and asked himself, "What are you doing?" After several minutes, the field was repaired and the stage was returned to the center. Midnight took her place on it. All right, let's see who made the cut for the final round of the festival. Thank you all for sticking around, and I hope that you've enjoyed. Before you leave, we would just like to let you know that We the Celestials has many other channels for your entertainment and viewing purposes. All the information you'll need is right below here in the description, so feel free to check out all the other incredible projects our team creates. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. That's all for today's video, so farewell and have a divine day.